Good afternoon. It's been quite a while since I've made a video, and I'm officially kicking off my tax business. It's been quite a few years since I've attempted to work in the tax field on my own. Quite a few years ago, I started one, and I had a few customers. And then I think I took a little break from doing taxes, and then started working with what was then Liberty Tax. So starting out probably somewhere around 2004, 2005, which would make me about 12 to 13 years of tax experience. I started out with Jackson Hewitt, taking the first 60-hour course, and worked in taxes ever since. I think I took 1 year off. When I came back, it was Liberty Tax. And then I worked for Liberty for several years, including last year. And this year, things have changed so much with management and this and that. And I'm actually retired from my state job. So I'm in a position now to do some taxes here at home on my own. I do have the California Tax Education Council certification that is required. I also am registered with the federal government. That was required for me to be able to obtain the tax software that I'm using, and for me to be able to obtain an e-file ID number, which means that I can submit electronically. I can submit tax returns. So starting out this business this year for the 2017 taxes, the 2018 tax season, I decided to do a series of blogs or vlogs, whatever you want to call them, and maybe give you some simple tax information that you might be interested in knowing, or maybe you're new to paying taxes. And I think for me, the main thing I'd like to do is to be able to help people with their simple tax returns. I can't get you a big advance like some of the companies do, but I can give you a fair price for my level of expertise, and I can help you file. And so if you're interested in getting a hold of me, you can find me at freestylejazz.com, my Freestyle Jazz Facebook page. You can respond on this on YouTube, and I'll get in touch with you. We'll somehow be able to connect. Anyway, I wanted to start out with giving you some information about filing status. I think that's kind of a good place to start, because I did see a question on social media a couple of days ago about whether or not your filing status should be single or head of household. And there are certain stipulations and qualifications that you need to meet in order to file as head of household. So I want to go over their filing statuses for you now. And I'm attributing what I'm going to read to you from the IRS website, irs.gov. That may sound intimidating to some people, and you may not be able to know exactly where to look on the government website, or you may not have access to the internet. So I'll read the status definitions to you, and if you have any questions, please feel free to get in touch with me. If you're single, normally this status is for taxpayers who are not married, or who are divorced or legally separated under state law. So, and that would be people who've just never gotten married yet. You can be single and have children. You can be divorced. Any iteration of being on your own. Married filing joint. If taxpayers are married, they can file a joint tax return. And if the spouse died the previous year, the widowed spouse can still probably file a joint return for that year. I will look into the details of what the extra stipulations are. If you're interested, please just let me know and I'll answer that question. The other filing status for married people is married filing separately, and this is not recommended except maybe under certain circumstances, because to draw a bottom line, you will pay more in taxes if you choose to file married filing separate. It may benefit them if it results in less tax owed than if they file a joint tax return, but that's unusual. Taxpayers may want to prepare their taxes both ways before they choose. You can also use this status if each wants to be responsible only for their own tax. Just bear in mind also that there is something called an injured spouse clause, that you can recover the amount of your refund that you would normally get if you were not tied to the spouse who may be paying child support or some other thing. Maybe it's previous taxes that would be owed by the spouse but not by the other person. So the injured spouse. So the spouse who doesn't really owe the money can file that form and not be charged. Head of household. Now this is an important one, and this is what people are confusing, I think, with being single. This status applies to a taxpayer who is not married, but there are special rules, as I mentioned. For example, the taxpayer must have paid more than half the cost of keeping up a home for themselves and a qualifying person. So there are rules that define what that qualifying person is. So you do have to have the qualifying person. But be sure and check all the rules. And what I'm willing to do is go through those rules with you, and we can decide together. But I can only file the return in the status that is legally available to you. CTEC certified tax preparers and the IRS in general are very strict about ethics, and they could take away my ability to file returns if I violate those ethics codes and do something that improper. The other filing status is qualifying widow or widower with a dependent child, and this status may apply if it may apply to a taxpayer if their spouse died the previous 2 years and they have a dependent child, and other conditions may apply. So I have a checklist of questions that I would go through with you in order to find out whether or not you would qualify for that filing status. So that's a little bit about filing status for filing your taxes. As I mentioned earlier, if you have any questions or concerns or anything that you'd like for me to look up for you, or if you'd like for me to give you some references on things, I'll be happy to answer your questions to the best of my ability. I suppose I should make a disclaimer here. It's always best to read the regulations yourself. And I think my best option is to point you in the right direction. If you'd like for me to do your taxes, I can run through the software for you. We can look to see whether or not you have the free file option on the IRS website if you make less than $66,000 as your adjusted gross income. And simple returns without Schedule Cs, which means owning your own business. But you may want to work with me if you have a home and you have certain deductions and I would like to itemize on your taxes. I'm here for that too. All right. Well, thank you for watching, and I'll be here next time with a different topic. And between now and then, I'll decide what that is.